Relax. A few punches to the face. I forgot to say ouch. So here you have it, ouch. Check the this. Those are my work shoes, don't pay no mind. Sometimes I couldn't tell my face was so swollen until I get on the camera. You look in the mirror be lying sometimes. Cause every time I look in the mirror, I'm the best looking nigga I ever seen in my life. I be wondering if anybody else that kind of have that kind of perspective about themselves. And it's been like that for a very, very long time, for years now. And some people might tell you that you're delusional. But truth be told, you're not delusional, man. If you feel like that about yourself, then that means that you love yourself, you feel me? Unconditionally, you feel me? That's how I feel. Every time I look in the mirror, I be like, yo, that's a good looking motherfucker, you feel me? Like, that's how I just feel about myself. Every time, I'm like, damn, that nigga look, I'm not even gassing it, no lie. True indeed. Feel me? True motherfucking indeed. Anyway, of course, online, people always talking about, there's debates about a lot of things, you feel me? The one that interests me the most is always about God himself and the stories that's told in the Bible. If people always think, should it be taken literal? I'm like, how do you see it? How do you see it? If you're reading it, what is the picture that's painted in your mind? How do you see it? Because sometimes at a certain stage in your life, you might see it the same way, but you gotta read it again in another stage in life, and you might see it a different way. It doesn't let it pass. It doesn't necessarily mean that you had a different perspective on it. It's probably the same way you saw it, but it's just that your vision grew. You feel me? Just because we all have different perception doesn't necessarily mean that we've mastered the perception of things. You feel me? I mean, like, I could be looking at a drawing, but my perception at that time could be that my vision was still, it's like, see it as a zoom. So sometimes the more you zoom out of things, the better the picture becomes. And some of our perspective, the zoom is a little too close to the picture, so we can't paint out what we're looking at. You feel me? So our perspective is based on the zooming in and the zooming out of things. The further that we zoom out of the universe, the further that we zoom out, the better picture we get. But if we just look into a tiny microscope, what are we really gonna learn from that? You feel me? This is why they keep building bigger and bigger, better and greater telescopes, where some is already out in the space of things already, is big enough to capture the whole universe. Because you cannot see your perspective from a small scope or from a micro point of view. That's what they call it, a microscope. You feel me? Both mean small. Like, you be looking at it from a small point of view, a microscope. It's like a small scope of things. You feel me? So sometimes our perspective is the same way too. We are looking at, we see a vision, or we see things as we read them from a very microscope point of view. And the older you get, and the way things zoom out of things, the way you get a bigger picture is to let it sit with you. You feel me? You gotta make sure it dwells with you. Like, let the question be around you for a little bit. You feel me? Or let these visions or whatever you read, let it be around you for a little bit. Somebody's hiding out here getting their hits on, but it's all good. Because I'm still talking. You already know. It gotta be let me stop. So You have to understand that when you get a perspective, or if you read the Bible, as we were speaking about, let the information sit with you for a little bit. Stop being in denial. Once you have a mindset of dismissal, then you're going to dismiss it. You feel me? There's nothing that's going to come out of it because you've already dismissed it. Your mind does not. Your mind, you are the one that commands your mind, and your mind focus on what you want to focus on. You feel me? It has its ways to protect you, but most of the time it's going by the beat of your drum. You feel me? So don't dismiss certain things. Give it a try. And they be like, well, I was a Christian for so long. Well, at the time when you was a Christian, you probably had a scope that was too close. You had the zooming of your picture was too close. You gave up on this or something that could have developed to something else. You see, recently I heard a story about when Jesus was at the bottom of the boat, and he was sleeping. And the Bible says that there was a huge storm, and the disciples couldn't control the boat. So they called Jesus, and they was like, yo, Jesus, man, wake your ass up. Nigga, we need your help up here, man. You out here sleeping. You supposed to be the Son of God. What's wrong with you? So Jesus came and spoke to the storm and calmed the storm down. Then after that, I don't know whether he calmed the storm down first or he walked on water. That was around the time he walked on water and everything else like that. And I always wonder, like, how did Jesus walk on water? Because that was one of the greatest mystery for me. Like, I just wanted to know, why did he walk on water? I never understood it, and I still don't understand it. But I understand it from a different point of view. When I read it, when I heard it again, I was like, well, if that part cannot be taken literal, then what was it talking about? And I felt like it was an intercourse that Jesus was having at that time. Or it was explained in a sexual matter. What is this nigga doing? Get your swan ass out of here, man. I'm tired of these niggas. It was explained in an intercourse matter. They was talking about a storm. You feel me? The storm usually represent women. Every storm that is categorized is named after a woman. And Jesus coming from under the bottom where he was sleeping. They use the word sleeping. Woke up, walked on water. These are all sexual activities that we usually use. Like, who walks on water? Like, that's what they were saying. Like, you feel me? He calmed the storm down. It's like a storm that is erotic. Like, you calm the woman's nerves down and everything else like that. Then you walked on her water. Different kind of talk, right? It's like, yeah, the more mature you become, like, or the higher you get up in consciousness, the different ways you can actually see it and not take it offensive and not be like, oh, sexuality. Like, they didn't have to explain it in the most vivid way. They just painted it in a different kind of light. Then taught Peter how to walk on water. Like, hey, this is how you treat a woman who is out of control and everything else. Just speak to her. Just speak to her normally. Tell her to calm down, just like that. Or he said, yield a little faith. You feel me? Then this next thing you know, Peter started. First, Peter was drowning. It could be in depth. It could be, you feel me? A storm can mean a lot of things, and water can mean a lot of things too. You feel me? So you can see it from those point of view. You don't have to take it literal and be like, it means God did this, and God see it from your point of view. You feel me? Because God is everything anyway. So even if you don't believe in him, by default, you still believing in him. You still worshiping him in some form of shit, because he's the creator of everything. He is alive in everything. Everything that you see. I'm in the grass right now. Look at these grasses. He's alive in it. As long as these grass is alive and growing and operating the way they're supposed to operate, God is alive in it. You feel me? It doesn't make sense that these things grow on their own. Every time we chop them down, they grow back up. Every time you chop them down, they grow back up. And you don't think that's magic in itself? You don't think that's growth? You don't think that's a miracle in itself? You feel me? They're as alive as we are. And it's like, make me feel small even thinking like that, because you're like, that's a plant, right? But yet that nigga keep growing back and forth. No matter how many times I step, shit, we don't even think about it as a living thing, but it is. So God is alive in all this shit already. So it's like you have to see it from a different point of view. You don't have to be holier than thou and try to act all fake. God already know already, you feel me? You could think of it in that form too. So when I heard that story again, I'm like, you know what? That has to be, that can be a sexual encounter that Jesus had at that time. And the best way for them to explain it was that they said Jesus walked on water. Like, it's like that man had moves that no man ever had. You feel me? Because around the time, who was really walking on water and who has ever walked on water after that? You feel me? So that was just a difference. And that's the way you can look at it. You can look at things like that from your perspective. Your perception is not sold on just one idea. Your perception is supposed to evolve. You feel me? It's supposed to expand. You're supposed to your perspective is as wide and as far as the universe go. And my boss is coming and I got to walk. I'm about to go in, yo. Word up. So your perspective, right, is as wide as the universe is, beyond your universe itself. Because Jesus said it himself, greater is in you than there is out in this world itself. So if it's greater in me, and I can see way greater than the things that I see here, then that means that I can travel much faster than my body can travel in this world itself with my thoughts. So which meaning that you can think beyond what man can even reach when he looks at the stars and he got to build spaceship and everything else like that. No, you can reach there with your thoughts and everything else by the way you think. You feel me? And the way you can see this, you can see your thought reaching far is by zooming out of things so you can see it from a whole perspective. You can see it from different point of view. And zoom back in again just to analyze the smallest detail that you need to analyze. You feel me? You need to have both perspective. You gotta have both perspective. You feel me? Your perspective gotta be homed in. You feel me? To the point where it becomes so easier for you to do such things. But anyway, I'm about to go in. I'm about to go. I forgot what to call this title. I never have a title. I just elaborate. If I had a title, it'd be much easier, honestly. Because all I gotta do is just look at the definition of the word and look at other words that relate to that word, and it makes it so much easier to speak about the topic in here. If I really do the research, it'd be too easy for me. Most of the time, I just go off the mind itself and then just flow. But remember, your perspective, you gotta... I gotta go.